unmanned aerial vehicle internship, one goal of becoming a future military officer, and 8 years of STEM have confirmed my college and career desires early. In 118 days, I will be sworn in to the United States Naval Academy class of 2021 alongside 1,200 classmates to fulfill my dream of becoming a successful leader and a military officer. Good morning, my name is Annie Anhoff, and I would like to thank you all for being here today. I began STEM in 5th grade, and little did I know at that time it was shaping my future. The Save the Bay robotics competition started within my first couple weeks of STEM. I didn't even have any video game experience by this point, so I had to learn how to test, program, and design a very small robot. At times this was very challenging, but it sparked my interest in engineering. In STEM 6, I went to space camp in Huntsville, Alabama. My interest in engineering grew when we built rockets, toured Rocket Circle, and participated in astronaut simulations. My dad is an aerospace engineer, and I was excited to talk to him about my experiences at space camp and then learn about engineering in the real world. I also really enjoyed our STEM 7 trip to the National Radio and Astronomy Observatory in West Virginia, where we got to work with telescopes that detected hydrogen in space. Similar to 5th grade, in STEM 7 we participated in another environmental theme like a robotics competition, and I enjoyed being able to apply my previous programming skills from STEM 5 to this project. And finally, in STEM 8, we participated in a Capstone project regarding exploration in space. My group based our own design of a space helicopter, which would have the ability to transport people and materials between Earth and a station like the International Space Station. And I love being able to figure out and challenge myself in developing the blueprints for this complex puzzle. The culmination of projects between my elementary and middle school STEM years helped me develop teamwork and presentation skills that I'm using today in giving this presentation. In STEM 9 and STEM 11, I did participate in engineering projects, but it was STEM 10 physics and engineering with Mr. Skinner that really reinforced my love for engineering. In the first few weeks of STEM 10, I was exposed to SolidWorks, a program very similar to computer automated design, also known as CAD, which a variety of engineering disciplines use daily. I enjoyed learning and understanding how models can be made from this computer program and then simulated on the computer before we printed them from our STEM 10 3D printers. My favorite part of high school STEM was the quadcopter challenge. I loved putting the quadcopter together from the kit, learning how to program the mission planner, even the troubleshooting, and then watching our first successful flight. It sparked my interest in unmanned aerial vehicles and solidified which type of internship I wanted, which was the Unmanned Aerial Systems Test Directorate internship in Webster Field in St. Inigoes, Maryland. Under the direction of Mr. Richard Stone and Mr. Don Rushing, I, along with 11 other interns, participated in unmanned aerial vehicle, also known as UAV, flights and radio-controlled aircraft flights. The very first briefing we had was centered on the importance of procedures and safety. All of our mentors were there, and we learned how to do a pre-flight check in the hangar, foreign object debris walks, and how to keep track of all of the tools in the workplace. Then we were presented with our first hands-on task, building as many 3DR X4 quadcopters from the kits used by my STEM 10 class. We were able to build 7 fully functional quadcopters by the end of the first week. After watching the first flight by our mentors, all of the interns were given the opportunity to fly with a simulator. Again, I was super challenged because I don't play video games very often, but after I practiced with the trainer more and more, I learned how to control the quadcopter. I was able to feel more comfortable, so when I flew for the second time, I took off and landed on my own. I was very excited. But like all experiments and engineering processes, we did have a couple challenges and a failure. Sometimes it was challenging to get all the quadcopters up and running because the batteries wouldn't last very long. However, this did allow each intern to get a little bit of flight time every single day. But on one of the first days of flying the newly assembled quadcopters, an air of compass variance showed up on the quadcopter that I was flying, and I lost complete contact with the quadcopter. It started heading towards the ground. The ground station couldn't control it, and neither could I. But we just watched it tumble on the runway a couple times before coming to a stop, and everyone just sat there in awe. We didn't know what had happened, so we walked over and picked up all of the pieces and then brought it back to do all the analysis. Turns out that the quadcopter systems overheated because we were flying at noon on a July day, and I was just happy it didn't crash because of me. We were also able to observe the Puma, a larger unmanned aerial vehicle that they were testing in order to prepare for a mission that they completed this past fall. It was very interesting to watch the engineers and pilots simultaneously launch and maneuver both the camera and the UAV itself. The pilots really emphasized communication since more than one person is on the controls, and it motivated us interns to do the same thing. At Webster Field, the Group 1 UAS program has a 14-year history with a UAV named the Aerostar. All of this has been documented and relatively organized into a humongous binder, which I was able to be part of the organization and digitalization of the handwritten notes. It was incredible to see the detail of the engineering process at a workplace, and it motivated me to take more detailed notes about the topics that we discussed throughout my internship. I was also able to experiment with the RQ-21A Blackjack simulator. After a general overview of the simulator the Friday before, the engineers wanted us to think about how to make data points overlap over the weekend. I did some brainstorming and came up with a theory that I was able to test the following Tuesday. I couldn't make the data points overlap, but I was able to figure out that the program on the simulator was not dropping data points on its given specifications. I was very excited that I was not only able to break the simulator, but experience a real-world problem and help the engineers with the update needed paperwork. Later in the internship, Delaney, Heidi, and I were asked to meet with the head of the Fire Scout program, Mr. Rich Paletta, to compile previous meetings and information into a coherent fit, check, test plan for a radar attachment being installed on the MQ-8C Fire Scout, and our plan was used this past September in California. Each day involved the employment of previously learned skills from my time in the STEM program. Meteorology, which is the science of weather, played a key role in my internship. It determined when we could fly and when we could not. But more importantly, the intense July sun caused one of the GPS systems to fry. Now, with this new knowledge about the general heat capacity of technology on board the 3DR quadcopters, we checked that the humidity and temperature each day that we were flying would be okay. This entire summer, I was surrounded by state-of-the-art technology. Right now, quadcopters similar to the ones that I used during my internship are being used in combat and commercially. The Aerostar, Puma, and even the Blackjack are being used in combat to help protect bases in war zones overseas. These UAVs have new surveillance capabilities because of the work done on bases like Webster Field. The hands-on work really highlighted the engineering portion of STEM. Building and flying copters was very exciting, but being a part of the team that analyzed the failure on that awful July day was very interesting. What I learned in STEM really does translate into the work world. Every part of this internship was an extension of some complicated math problem. And I didn't work with the math directly, but I was able to see some of the most basic and important math, cost analysis. While working with the Aerostar and Fire Scout, I was able to see how expensive these operations truly are, and why it is so important to make the most fuel-efficient and communication-efficient aircraft. Overall, the participation in technical writing and formal presentations connected all aspects of the STEM program. This internship gave me the opportunity to work in a realistic work environment, gain future work experience, and apply the knowledge that I have learned in the classroom. We worked at a variable pace each day, and there was always something to do. Now, when we did have more relaxed days, I used time to explore my Capstone research-based case study, and I chose the topic of the history, development, and future of radio frequencies. In 1820, Hans Ørsted began examining how currents exert forces on metals and realized that the metal could be magnetized. In 1831, Michael Faraday proved the reverse phenomenon, that magnetism could be turned into electricity. The combination of these theories led to the first developments of electronic communication technology, such as radio. Maxwell's partner, German physicist Henry Hertz, produced his own theory parallel to Maxwell's about how waves travel. And then Hertz was able to prove that electromagnetic waves could be both transmitted and received wirelessly. Then Edwin Armstrong came about. He created the frequency modulation radio, the first amplifying receiver and continuous wave transmitter. After years of experimentation done by the founding fathers, Nikola Tesla and Guglielmo Marconi raced to invent the first standard FM radio, the basis of what we use today. Not only did the radio change the communication and entertainment world, it changed the science world too. Since the 1800s, scientists, engineers, and mathematicians have developed and expanded the uses of radio communication into programs and experiments such as radio detection and ranging, also known as radar, satellites, and the global positioning system that we know today as GPS. The experiments regarding radio waves and their different frequencies have changed science for the better. In the 1950s, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration began experimenting with satellites and Doppler radar, an echolocation-like mechanism used in tracking large objects within a certain radius. The way the object's motion has altered the frequency of the return signal determines the speed and distance of that object relative to your location. In the 1960s, during the Sputnik era, NASA used submarines orbiting about the poles of the Earth that carried transmitters. With information from multiple satellites, the submarines could triangulate their own location, and in combination with calculating the precise position of an object, submarines used Doppler to see the changing positions of their counterparts. This process proposed the first ideas of a worldwide GPS system. And today, we use GPS and Doppler without even realizing it. Maybe to check the weather, or even to get where we want to go on the fastest route possible, of course. Now, when you look outside, you don't see these waves traveling around you, but they're there. Today, there are 4,256 satellites orbiting about the Earth, sending information back via radio frequencies. And every day, more efficient receivers like your cell phones and GPS are being invented. Recently, Mr. Joseph Foster from the Naval Postgraduate School emphasized the rising importance of UAVs in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps, since 2011, have slowly been integrating UAVs into their ground and air troops to help with surveillance and strikes against the enemy. The goal of the Marine Corps' small tactical UAVs is to uniformly create technology that resembles a swarm of birds and insects. And it really does look like that too. Birds and insects rarely fly into one another because they have such a great sense of their surroundings. But there's an admirable division of labor within the swarm that the Marine Corps hopes to resemble in their small tactical UAVs. On October 25th, 2016, in China Lake, California, the Paradox Swarm Demonstration Team used small tactical UAVs deployed from an F-18 Super Hornet to execute 4 different missions. Here, you can see a single ground station controlling over 100 UAVs. The red dots are the targets for each UAV, and each green dot is a single UAV. As of today, small tactical UAVs do not have the ability to support Marine ground troops for the necessary operational distances, unless there are local ground stations nearby. People on the front lines do not have time to set up a complex ground station. So this is why it's so important to use these small UAVs, because they are prime candidates for the Marine Corps' advancements in swarm technology. When UAVs assemble into a swarm, they're able to band together in order to communicate. So their combined communication capabilities are resemble and comparable to a large UAV. Additionally, losing a single UAV in a swarm does not greatly affect the mission. This will be very helpful in times of war. But there are many other benefits to swarm technology. communications relay, search and rescue, maritime border protection, climate change observations, and infrastructure survey. Being able to survey and collect the data on terrains will provide great benefits to our military ground troops. They'll know exactly what lies ahead of them minutes before they reach it. Radio signals and frequencies play a key role in today's military society. The past and current development of radio frequencies have changed the way our military communicates, enhancing the abilities to take down the enemy and protect our country. I will be pursuing a major in ocean engineering at the Naval Academy, which is said to be one of the most varied engineering disciplines. I will gain a general understanding for multiple types of engineering, such as materials engineering, systems engineering, and even some aerospace engineering. I've always loved the water, so I'm certain that this major will be a great fit for me. In the future, I would like to be commissioned as a rotary wing pilot. I do have the choice of going into the Navy or the Marine Corps in a couple years. And although I'm not sure which branch I'll pursue, I'm incredibly excited and honored to serve my country as an officer and help people around the world. Now, my next 4 years are going to be incredibly and mentally and physically demanding. I'll be at one of the top-ranked schools in the nation for academics, military preparation, and athletics. I believe that STEM from elementary through high school, as well as all of my extracurricular activities, have prepared me for the rigorous demands of the military and the college student life. It's a pretty good thing that I don't mind getting up at 5:30 every morning, too. I'll also be running both cross-country and track for the Academy. I knew after my recruiting visit on the weekend of September 11th, this school and team was the perfect fit for me. I'm very excited to be wearing blue and gold for the next 4 years. Having a background as a student, as an intern, and as an athlete has prepared me for presentations, interviews for colleges and future jobs, and the physical demands of the Navy. Learning and expanding on these new skills help further develop me as an aspiring engineer too. And I'm very thankful for these experiences. They've been very rewarding, so thank you to all of those who have assisted me in reaching my goals. Are there any questions?
The slide where you show the unmanned air systems in the green and the targets in the blue, what would that look like in real life? Can you explain the movements that are going on there?
So those are the actual UAVs that they used in the video. Okay. So that's the team that was in China Lake on October 25th.
Okay.
So it looks from afar. It just looks like there are these giant black dots swarming everywhere. Like the little black birds, it just looks like they're just swarming in a circle. And then you move them and they all just kind of get together and they move. And then they start swarming in a different place. But while that's going on, they all have cameras underneath of them, which is what this larger part of the UAV is for. They put a camera underneath them, so they're all stitching the images that they're capturing of the land below, given their GPS location, to create a wider map underneath. So it legitimately looks like a swarm of little blackbirds.
Thank you.
Yours was one that I got to see from the beginning, kind of see the process. And so I just want to commend you on really taking feedback that Ms. Morgan and I gave you and utilizing that well. And I thought it was very thorough initially, but you really, the transitions and the natural flow of it, it worked really, really well. So, and you let the images guide your presentation more so than words, which is always very good, you know, for maintaining audience interest. So I thought it was very engaging.
Thank you.
Tell my juniors that. You too, seniors. No, I would echo that that's true for the presentations we
instruction. And oftentimes, when you're presenting something with so much technical information in it, it's very hard for lay people that haven't been involved. And both yourself and the gentleman before you, it's been very, very impressive that you were able to articulate to us exactly what you did in your internship. Both of you did an excellent job, which will only serve you so well when you go into technical fields and have to advocate to lay people for funding and things like that. So very, very well done, and I commend your teachers and those that helped you through that, because that is very difficult. That takes many adults years and years and years to kind of figure out. So kudos to all of you.